Okay, there we go. See? Do you see the slice, the mozzarella? Usually the end piece doesn't have it because if you went all the way to the end, the cheese would be sticking to the pan. So I think that looks pretty good. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Amy Roloff, and I'm in my little kitchen. And okay, I'm surrounded by, I'm hoping I have all the ingredients ready here. But today we're going to make something that I have a recipe for meatloaf on, go to amyroloffslittlekitchen.com. That's kind of like your traditional basic meatloaf, and I called it the Blue Plate Special because it's one of those items that remind me, I grew up with meatloaf. I don't know about you. You know, you find it in a diner a lot. You serve it with mashed potatoes and everything. And people have done so many different spins on meatloaf because it is so, it's, you know, come on, ground beef. It's so versatile. It's such an easy ingredient to kind of come up with, you know, different ways to prepare it. And so today we are making pizza meatloaf. Now, again, who doesn't like pizza? I know Chris likes pizza a lot. I did not grow up with pizza. We would probably have pizza, I don't know, maybe once a month, a week or two, but also it's not like it is today. So anyway, we're gonna make pizza meatloaf. So I'm just gonna run through the ingredients on this little video that I'm doing, but I always wanna remind you to follow the recipe as well, because sometimes let's say I kind of forget, and I always don't have my recipe with me when I prepare this, but look at this. You guys, look at this. I am so excited about this for Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen. This is your cookbook stand. You can put your iPhone here, your iPad, well, maybe not your computer, depends on how big it is, or your cookbook, or I have my recipe right here, so it's right in front of me, even though I still have to wear glasses, but anyway. It's a little cookbook stand, and this thing comes out, I mean, it's just so wonderful. I am so excited that we finally found someone to make this for us. Anyway, so I have about 2 pounds of ground beef. I like to use kind of a leaner ground beef, not your 80-20, because as you bake the meatloaf, it creates too much grease. And even though it kind of keeps the meatloaf moist and not dry out as you're baking it, it's too much. So right now I have a 90-10, 10% fat content. So be careful that you don't overcook it because it definitely will dry out. But we have 2 pounds of ground beef. I'm gonna start off with 2 cups of shredded mozzarella, but I have about 4 cups in here because it's called pizza. I mean, who doesn't like cheese on pizza? I've got green pepper here, finely diced. I'm gonna 2 eggs, room temp. That'll help bind everything. Depending on the size of your oven, oh my goodness, depending on the size of your onion, either use half of an onion or a whole onion. I found these like smaller white onions, so I have 1 onion. We're gonna do about a half a cup of chopped pepperoni. I've got some parsley for part of the sauce. I've got some garlic here, 3 cloves of garlic. I like garlic. I have about a third of a cup of plain breadcrumbs and a third of a cup of panko. And then I have a combo, oh yeah, I think one of these herbs is for my sauce on top. But I have 1 tablespoon of oregano and about a half a tablespoon of thyme. Whew. I hope that's all the ingredients, but like I said, follow the recipe. So anyway, let's get started. This is basically, you combine all of this, and I'm gonna cook it in a bread pan, and I have used a cooking baking spray for this. So anyway, let's get going. Like I said, I do have my recipe here, so I think I've got everything. Hallelujah. I love this recipe. It reminds me of me growing up. And I'm using this big bowl here. Now, I typically do not take off my rings. So if you don't, I would definitely, as you mix it, I think it's better to mix the meatloaf with your hands. But if you do, I take off my rings for that because that just gets too messy. If you don't, then just put on, those glove things. Those, what do you call them, Lisa?
Like a cooking glove.
Yeah, like a cooking glove, sterile. You can buy them at your drugstore or whatever. So I'm going to take my rings off because I have found using, and I don't want to lose them. So guess what? I'm putting them in my pant pocket. I'm going to dump this in here. I'm not sure if I ever told you guys. Way back when I was still married to Matt, I was baking and I was using flour and everything, and I had stuck my rings in my apron pocket. Forgot all about it. I went upstairs, made beds and everything, and I still had my apron on for some reason. I went to go put my ring back on. It was not there. Believe me, I said a few choice words. I thought, where on earth could it be? And I thought, maybe it is in the boys' room because I was changing their sheets. I'm going to add a little salt and pepper to the meat. You always want to flavor your meat. But, I'm using different items that also has salt in it, so be careful. So I just sprinkle a little bit of salt. So I went upstairs. Man, I took the sheets off. I looked, behind their bed, under their bed. I looked everywhere. I even took the vacuum cleaner bag out, dumped it all out, and I just did a little bit of pepper here. That was my coffee. Ooh, I may need coffee after that. So I'm just gonna mix this in here. Anyway, I took the vacuum cleaner bag, and we had one of those in the wall vacuum hoses. So I went out in the garage and took that bag apart, looked everywhere. And this was my wedding ring that we had redone. And I lost it. Oh my God. I was so livid. I was so afraid to tell him because, irresponsible on my part. I'm going to do the 2 eggs in here first. Yeah. Normally, you may want to do this in a separate thing so that you don't get any shells in your meatloaf. Anyway, I finally did, and at the time, this was way early into our marriage. Where'd that fork go?
In the sink.
Oh, is it? Okay, here's another one. I'm still using the fork with the meat. This part, I don't use my hands. I still use this fork. Anyway, Matt graciously did go out and bought me another ring for the next Christmas or birthday or something. I can't remember. So that was very nice. Anyway, so I have to, the whole point being is I got to make sure where I put my rings.
So you never found your ring?
No, I have never found the ring. Never. I even went to the cleaners. Now, why did I go to the cleaners? Because I thought maybe I put it in something else. And, sometimes cleaner, are they really going to tell me the truth? I would think they would. But I'm going to put in about 1/2 cup of milk into the breadcrumbs. Maybe 2/3. I don't want the breadcrumbs too dry. The eggs will help bind the meatloaf. The breadcrumbs and the milk, I'm just going to let this sit for a minute because the panko will really soak this up. If you're just using plain breadcrumbs, about 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, and then maybe 1/3 to 1/2 cup of milk. Okay, we got this going. Okay, I'm gonna dump in the onions. I don't, this is pizza meatloaf. So it's just like when you order out pizza, put in it what you want, but don't overload it so much that the meatloaf has a hard time keeping itself together, especially when you cook it. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot garlic. Here, I'm just gonna set this aside here and chop up my garlic. So, you know, like I said, just like pizza, you order a lot of stuff on it, or you just want pepperoni and cheese. So if you don't like green pepper, don't add green pepper to your meatloaf. If you don't like onions, don't add that. You can add a shallot, onion powder if you want. I've got 3. These are pretty large, so 2 to 3, and it really depends on the size of your garlic. So we're just gonna slice this up a little bit. Or if you have one of those little fancy, you know, garlic presses, feel free to use that. It'll probably go a lot quicker than slicing up garlic. And I don't think I already told you this, but I have my oven preheated to 375 degrees. I have found that because this is an older oven, the doors close, but I still believe that there's a little heat that escapes. And so it might not get to exactly the 350. And so I preheat my oven to 375. So I'm gonna try and chop this up, the garlic, to kind of get it as minced as I can. No one likes biting into a big chunk of garlic. So that garlic press may work. I don't know. And I just want to let you know that you know what's on my mind? Making sure I remember where those rings are. So I put them in my pant pocket, not my apron pocket, but my pants. That way I don't forget. And I rarely take off my rings, rarely. Sometimes I'll do it when I'm baking and I really need to use my hands. But other than that, I just clean my rings often. Because, I don't know, to me, it's my wedding ring and it's another ring that it's my previous wedding ring that I made into the ring that I wanted after my divorce. But anyway, those are important rings to me. The one reminds me about all my 4 kids. And obviously, my new wedding ring to Chris, of course, reminds me that I was able to find. So I'm going to just dump this right in here. So we got the onions, we got the green pepper, and we're going to add in our seasonings, the thyme and oregano. We're going to put that right in here. Oh yeah, the pepperoni. I got to chop up the pepperoni. Oops. Too much more. And you know, if you don't like pepperoni, you can put something else in here, pancetta or something like that. Or you can even do a little bit of bacon that has been cooked already. That'll add some flavor. Because, you know, you don't want to add raw bacon. Ooh. The already cooked bacon will add some flavor. So I'm just going to chop up this pepperoni. Now, I'm not sure if you're wondering, but what kind of pizza do I like? I like stuff on my pizza. But there have been times where Chris and I will just order a cheese and pepperoni pizza. Sometimes you just feel like the basic, simple, kind of reminds you of childhood or whatever. But I like green pepper and onions and pepperoni, sausage, bacon. And I also occasionally like the chicken with Alfredo sauce and all that other stuff. So anyway. This pizza is definitely being, we'll have a red sauce on top. Okay, we're almost done here, guys. Trying to look over all my ingredients here and make sure. And like I said, the reason you want a lean beef is because you don't want all that grease. And you want to really do your best to try and seal your meatloaf, because we got to dig a well. Oh yeah, you got some work here. We got to dig a well so that we can put the cheese in the middle and the meat that we took out to make the well. We put that in there, and of course you don't want it to kind of squeeze out. Okay, do I have this? Just gonna give it a rough chop. And like I said, depending on your oven or the size meat, because this meatloaf will definitely feed, 4 to 6 people. But the one thing I love about meatloaf as well, I grew up with meatloaf sandwiches, because like, cold pizza, you can eat it at, cold or room temperature. And I remember taking a meatloaf sandwich to school, and some of my friends would be like, what? But I'm like, no, man, this is great. You just put a little mayo on it, put a little lettuce, and then if you have some leftover sauce, just put that on the other slice of bread, just a little bit. Anyway, okay, I think this is done. I don't know where my scraper went, but here we go. Oh yeah, thank you, Lisa. Lisa's behind the scenes.
You're welcome.
Okay, oh, breadcrumbs. Because we got the 2 eggs in here. And see how it kind of soaked it up? So if it looks a little runny at first, and if you feel like you may need a little extra milk, I wouldn't go more than like a tablespoon or something. Okay, here we go, people. It just feels squishy at first. But you just really want to make sure everything gets mixed in. And besides, cooking to me is like, playing with Play-Doh. Get your hands a little dirty and messy. So you just really want to make sure it's all combined. Okay, is this a bad part? I should have had pictures taken here while I was doing this. Doing this, is that okay, or should I not?
What? Are you doing the...
Yeah, the meat. Just taking a photo or whatever. But we should get some, I know we have a video, but. Okay. And when you're satisfied that it's all mixed in, don't wash your hands yet. We got a little more to go here. Okay. We're gonna get our, cooking spray, like loaf pan, and we're gonna kind of form our loaf. And the other thing is too, if you want a little more herbs, like the oregano and thyme, add a little bit more in. I mean, like I said, ground beef to me is a friendly, ingredient to really, take on those flavors that you want it to take on. I'm just making sure that you want to make sure it's really packed down so that slicing it becomes easier and it doesn't crumble. Okay. Now I am going to ask Lisa if she can get me a little spoon.
Yes.
Just right over there in that little blue container there. Because sometimes that may be a little, thank you. Sometimes that may be a little easier. Now, the hardest thing to this, it's not getting too close to the ends here or to the sides, because you need a wall. You need a strong enough wall. And you don't want to get too close to the bottom where the cheese just kind of seeps through the meat as it cooks. So I'm going to flatten this out a little bit. Okay. And I am just going to scoop this out. Kind of like cut along the meat with your spoon. Because that'll give you an idea of, you know, where you're going, what you're doing. And then I'm just going to put it back in here where the meat was. Kind of want your walls kind of even. Well, I hope I didn't go down too deep. Tell you the truth, to me, this is like the hardest part of making this dish. I already made this meatloaf, pizza meatloaf, for Chris and I. We loved it. I made 2 of them because, you know, sometimes you have to have someone else test your food. And I gave it to my son, Jeremy, and Audrey and family. And Jeremy he told me, he had one of his growing up friends come over, and his friend, I have made so many dinners for him, and they went down memory lane. Like, here we are in our 30s, and your mom is still making us food. I cracked up at that. I said, man, I love it. So anyway, that's why I'm glad that some of my kids still live close. Okay, because I'm not worried about my hands with the cheese, because the cheese is going in the meat anyway. Oops. Yeah, try not to get the cheese on the sides here. And I know you guys can't see her, but my dog is right here. She is hoping that I drop food on the floor. And sometimes getting off my stool when I have to use it, or just stepping away, she is right there. I'm almost killing myself or hurting her because she doesn't make a sound. What I'm doing right here, I'm just packing down the shredded cheese a little bit so that it melts but isn't too thin where it seeps out. Or I just want to make sure all the nooks and crannies. So I had about 4 cups of cheese here, and I probably only used about 2. Okay. God, I feel like I'm missing something, but okay, I think that's about it. So we're gonna just gently press that down a little bit. Now we're gonna take.
About the pepperoni.
I already added it.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's a good thing because Lisa knows me well, and sometimes I forget things. So she said, well, what about the pepperoni? Because she saw that I still have a little bit in here. I said, I've already added that. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this, with the part of the meat that we scooped out, I'm just going to kind of form this a little bit as best I can into like a small mini meatloaf log. Press it, and I'm going to lay that on top. I still have a lot more here, but I want to make sure that it goes over the edge of my meatloaf. And the reason for that is because you really want to try your best to seal it. Now, I will tell you this. but I've already done it, so I can't really change it. I think I should have dug down a little bit more on the bottom, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, digging the well and sealing up your meatloaf, pinching it together so it's not like a top layer on top of the cheese, is really the hardest part of this whole recipe. Okay. Okay. Now the thing that I do, and I don't know why I do this, but I think I just got myself in a habit. I've used the back of a fork just to kind of help me seal it and just move it away from the sides. Like I said, I don't know why. Maybe I want the grease to go more on the outside instead of all of it staying on the inside. But for some reason, as a kid, cooking and learning how to bake and everything, I just got into that habit. And it's so automatic to me that I do it to this day. Obviously, look at me. Okay. And the fork can also help you push down on the meat and help you seal it to the bottom part of the meat and keep all that cheese in there instead of seeping out. Okay. Okay, you guys, I am done. I hope, I think. Let's see how this turns out. But I'm going to put this in the oven. Like I said, 375 degrees. But you know your oven best, so start off at 350. You can go up to 375 and you'll be fine. But this will cook anywhere from about 45 to 50, 55 minutes. You obviously want it cooked, but make sure you kind of don't cook it too long, that you dry it out. So here we go. Oh yeah. Yeah, look at this. I need a stool to open up my oven. But I will tell you this, people, I love the fact, I know it needs cleaning. I love the fact that I have 2 ovens. Oh my gosh, the holiday entertaining, it is a lifesaver. So anyway, I'll see you guys back in about 45 minutes. Okay. We'll let the meatloaf cool for a minute here. So you want to cool the meatloaf about 15-20 minutes, just so it has time to rest. Sometimes if you have leftover grease in your meatloaf, just kind of drain it into something else. Because, I mean, your ground beef has some fat in it, so you're going to get that. Okay, it's cool to the touch. And the one thing I really want to point out here is, look at how nice that top is. It's not squishy, it's not soft or anything. So guess what I'm gonna do to have a good meatloaf? Whoa! Oh, whoa! Okay, let me clean this little mess up. Okay, let me just clean this up a little bit. All right. And this is just really some of the fat residue. I cannot wait to cut into this, but we're not quite done yet. So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna make the pizza sauce. And usually you can make the pizza sauce probably about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes before you're ready to get out the meatloaf, or when you pull the meatloaf out of the oven, because you need to rest your meatloaf just a little bit, you can make the sauce then. So we're gonna go over here to the, well no, first of all, we're gonna chop this stuff up. We're gonna chop up a little parsley. And do you remember that leftover shredded mozz? We are, we're gonna add a little bit on top just for a little garnish. I guess all you need is a little rough chop of the parsley, but okay, there we go. Okay, what are we doing here? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go over to the stove top here. Let's see here. So what I have in here is 2 jars of pizza sauce. So we're heating that up. But I think because it's pizza sauce, it's usually a little bit more plain of a tomato-based sauce. So we are going to add in some seasoning. There's a little basil. There's a little bit of basil, oregano. I think that's it. If you want to put thyme in there, you can. So I'm going to add a little bit of that. And at the beginning of all of this, I think I mentioned how much. So you guys, guess what? Just follow the recipe. Okay. And then I'm adding 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, just to thicken it up a little bit. And to tell you the truth, oh yeah, garlic. How can I forget garlic? We're gonna do a little bit of garlic. And it depends on how much garlic you want. I mean, I'll probably do at least 1 or 2 teaspoons, maybe 1 teaspoon to start off with. So I'm not gonna measure it, I'm just gonna add it in there. We're just going to incorporate the tomato paste. Whoops. I guess you should be careful on how you stir it. So we're just going to heat this up, get it nice and hot. I'm going to give this a little taste because I want to be sure that I don't want to add any more herbs. I always start out with a quantity of herbs when I make a recipe, but when I'm actually cooking it, I'm like, yeah, this was good at the time, but I'm in the mood for just a little more herbs. So you can't go wrong with adding a little more herbs of whatever you like. I love adding the tomato paste in this. It gives the pizza sauce a little richer flavor, and it helps thicken up the sauce. Now, I didn't go ahead and make my own pizza sauce. I used whatever good pizza sauce that you like. Bought it at a jar of it. I need a little more garlic. You know what I'm so happy about? There's been occasions that I've had too much garlic, and Chris doesn't want to kiss me. But he'll still kiss me, even with some garlic in my food that might be a little too much, but not really. You know what I mean? Come on, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm happy about, because I love garlic. Okay, I'm just going to sprinkle in a little bit of... Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I forgot to add in the red pepper flakes, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Whoa. Whoa, I almost got carried away. But you know what? Chris likes spicy. Add in a little bit more garlic. Oregano. Because, you know, I mean, this is supposed to be pizza meatloaf. I like adding basil to this because basil's, it's got a nice herby, you know, it's got that nice flavoring, but, you know, it can be a little sweet out of oregano and thyme. Okay, we're just going to let this sit for a minute. Oh, the other thing that I forgot to tell you, or maybe I did in the beginning, I can't remember. Some really good sides with this pizza meatloaf would be like garlic bread, a good salad, maybe a good green vegetable, whatever that may be that you like. But the starchy element of a side that I think go perfect with this is, how do you say that again? Pepe and?
Pepe pistachio.
Yeah, CIAO. So, what?
Cascio.
Yeah, cacio and pepe. So basically that's cheese and pepper in Italian. So, cacio, pepe. I've got that recipe, pasta. I have that recipe over at amyroloffslittlekitchen.com, so check it out. But it's a very basic pasta, but it has a lot of parm in it. It's got that little peppery, but it doesn't take away from the flavor of a pizza meatloaf and stuff like that. It's a great complement to anything that you want to add a pasta. It's not going to take away the flavor of something else that you're accompanying it with. It's a good, you know, pasta for lunch instead of the heavy tomato sauce and all that. So cacio pepe pasta. So that is what. Oh dear, we're splattering over here, people. What in the world? We are splattering all over the place. So anyway, that'd be a nice side. But you can also serve it with mashed potatoes or something like that. But like I said, I've made this before, and Chris and I loved it. The pizza meatloaf accompanied with cacio pepe pasta. Boy, that was a long way saying that, wasn't it? Okay, I think this is done. So, gotta put something on my counter over here. What?
Good.
Oh, thought you were waving at me, looking at me. Okay, so I did tell you about 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, but I had forgotten that I use 2 jars in this sauce, and before I only used 1. So I would probably almost use a whole can, which is about 6 ounces of tomato paste, just to thicken it up a little bit more. But here we go. Or you don't have to either. I mean, this still works. But since we've got a lot of meatloaf here, it's okay to let the sauce drip down. And if you have leftover mozzarella cheese, because the heat, whoa. Because the heat of the sauce will just, you know, you just sprinkle it on. Because the meatloaf has had a chance to cool down a little bit. And that's why if you want a thicker sauce, add a little more tomato paste. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and just sprinkle on a little bit of parsley. Okay, I'm sure you guys are dying to see what this looks like. I just know it. I just know it. Because who wouldn't? All right. So you guys, this is pizza meatloaf. Yeah, pizza meatloaf. Oh my gosh. I talked about all these sides. Anyway, this is pizza meatloaf. You can find this recipe over at amyroloffslittlekitchen.com. And I would love it if you guys subscribe to my channel. Go on YouTube. You can have a subscription and you'll get a lot more content if you go to amyjroloff.com. Check it out. I've got a bunch of recipes out there and we're going to be doing other things in the new year. But anyway, this is pizza meatloaf. So let's check it out. This time I will cut the slice in half and Lisa and I will have an opportunity to check it out. Wouldn't you know at the time you want to find your knife that you want to use, you can't. Okay, I'm just going to use this one. I think cutting a meatloaf is a lot better if you use like a bread knife. Sometimes it's serrated? No. Serrated. Serrated. Oh, yeah, serrated. Oh, my gosh.
Thanks, Donna.
Okay. I think a serrated knife can sometimes tear the meat and it just kind of crumbles. It doesn't make a really clean slice. So here we go. And just like bread, sometimes okay, there we go. See? Do you see the slice, the mozzarella? Usually the end piece doesn't have it because if you went all the way to the end, the cheese would be sticking to the pan. So I think that looks pretty good.
Delicious.
Okay, let's, let me get a fork here. No, I'm gonna get a little spatula. Here, let's get this.
Not forks, I'll get forks.
I'm gonna add a little more sauce to this. And again, like I said before,
Wow, it smells amazing.
follow my recipe at amyroloffslittlekitchen.com. Sometimes as I'm making this, I tweak the recipe a little bit because of what we're doing here. But anyway.
Wow, show that one more time. Look at that cheese. Oh my gosh.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, there
Smells
you go.
amazing. Ready?
Oh yeah, this is ready. What am I doing? Get some of that green cheese. Oh my gosh.
It's so
Sorry.
gooey, look. Oh.
Oh, look at that.
Mmm.
Mm.
Wow, that's delicious. Mmm.
That's pretty good, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the sauce, the cheese.
And I think it's got enough seasonings in it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
It's a winner. Chris will love this.
I think you will too.
Mmm.
Sorry, guys.
I'm taking another bite before
Yeah.
we talk.
So like I said, this is great, a great family dish. This will probably serve maybe at least 4 to 6, depending. You could maybe 8, but 4 to 6 at least. But you've got some really great sides to serve with it. But check out Pizza Meatloaf over at amyroloffslittlekitchen.com. You good?
Love it.
All right.
Good job.